So today we're going to talk really quick about project management. What is it? Who is the PMI and things like that? And a few things you need to take note of as you come into this training. Number one, what is project management? Project management can be explained as applying knowledge about project management, skills about project management and leadership, interpersonal skills, tools and techniques, applying those to projects to get an outcome. Who is the PMI? PMI stands for Project Management Institute, and it's the leading global association for project management. They were founded in 1969, and it's a nonprofit, and they have been key in standardizing project management standards and techniques across the world. Certifications like the PMP, PGMP, and CAPM were conceived by them and are operated by them. Back in 1984, there were just 40 people we would consider to be project management professionals. But look how that number has grown all the way to the last time I put this together in 2020, we had over 1 million. Right now, we have 1.2 million people who are project management professionals. So it's a great certification to have, sensible to have it. What is the PMBOK guide? The PMBOK guide consists of good project management practices used to manage most projects. It documents emerging good practices, and it provides a common lexicon for project management. And as I said, we have a couple of editions of the PMBOK guide. There is the most current PMBOK guide 7th edition, and there is the most current, or I should say, the less current 6th edition, which looks like this. So we have two PMBOK guides that are commonly referred to by trainers of project management and the PMP exam. And in this training, we talk about both for your certification prep. So here's a high-level view of what exactly this course is built around. So week 1, we go into Agile, pretty strong. Week 2, we go into predictive. Week 3, we go into hybrid in the immersion. You saw that big book I showed you, PMP Exam Immersion book. This book is full of content that's put together by Roy, my buddy, my co-trainer, and I. And you may not be able to see all the details, but this is a really big book with value. It does not have processes and inputs and outputs, even though those are good. It's not about that stuff. It's about the logic and the mindset and the reasoning behind the PMP exam content outline. All of this has content outline related material, and that is what we use to train the hybrid piece. So if you've been struggling as far as how agile and predictive methods could cohabit, come together, you need to be in this training. Week 3, we're going into the hybrid stuff. And then the last part, week 4, we go into situational questions for those 2 days. Now, if you're thinking of taking this exam, take a look at the eligibility requirements. Either you've got a high school diploma or a degree. If you've got a high school diploma, you need 5 years of experience leading and directing projects and 35 hours of formal education in project management. If you have a degree, you need 3 years of experience managing projects and 35 hours of formal education. And that's pretty much a summary. If you've been to a GAC accredited program, globally accredited college for work with the PMI, then you only need 2 years or 24 months of project management experience and 35 contact hours. Most people I know, they fall into either the first or second category. They either have a high school diploma or bachelor's degree. And that's pretty much the summary about that. Now, the exam is 180 multiple choice questions in 230 minutes. 5 questions are pre-test questions. They're not counted. They're more like survey questions to identify criteria, although they don't tell us which ones they are. The passing score is undisclosed. Bottom line is you really need to do well. But when you pass this test, my friends, it is very, very beneficial to you in your career. My salary level went up 300% by becoming a project management professional. So I highly advise it to people. So it's a highly situational exam. It will test how well you can respond to several real-world, agile, hybrid, and predictive scenarios. It's a little bit tough in that you need stamina. Now, for people who They come out of the exam and they say, oh, that was really, really hard. Think about it. Think about this for a second. You sitting down on a chair in front of a computer screen for almost 4 hours. Is that easy in and of itself? Seriously, to just sit down staring at a computer screen for 4 hours doesn't sound easy to me. Now, on top of that, when you put questions that are situational, it's a challenge. So the exam is not just hard because of the content, it's physically hard because it makes you sit there for 4 hours. And that's why I tell people take breaks, get up, walk around, take breaks, because just sitting in a place for 230 minutes is a challenge. So it's no surprise when people come out and say, oh, it was so difficult, it was hard. Yeah, of course, sitting down there is going to be hard. And then thinking for that long, consistently thinking, which is why on this course, we have a 180 question mock exam and many other tinier chunks of questions that you can sit down with, maybe 30 questions here, 50 questions here, and that will help you in your prep. But the exam, it could be looked at as a challenging test. Some people say it's tough because of the physical intensity of the exam, highly situational. There could be some inference to formulas and mathematical calculations are not as prominent, but you could still get some questions that require you to be able to understand the implication of certain metrics. So we have multiple choice questions, drag and drop, select all that apply. And that's the profile of the exam. The exam content is broken out into people, process, and business. People will test you on human interactions in project management. Process will test you on processes in project management. And business, it's all about business strategy relating to projects, be they agile, predictive, and hybrid. There are 5 major steps in my mind to success. 1, check if you're eligible. If you are eligible, decide, do I really want to do this? It's a go or no go. Next, do some pre-study activities. Sign up to be a member of the PMI and start your PMP application. I have a video right here on the channel. If you look, you'll find my video for filling in your application and getting it done. But just remember, you need the education hours in order to get it done. And that's why I recommend to you, if you're struggling with the education hours, you're struggling with direction, you need to go on down one more time to that site. It's called projectmanagementmasterclass.com. And that's where you'll be able to sign up for the next course coming up. The next step after pre-study activities is sign up for the masterclass. We'll immerse you, we'll get you in shipshape. And last but not least, you will pass the exam. You'll schedule it, you pass it, okay? The exam can be broken down into people, process, and business. Like I said, 42% is people, 8% business, and 50% process, just like you see in the table, okay? Now, in addition to this, also be aware that the exam could be split into 2 broad components, as shown in the next figure, which is part agile and hybrid and part predictive. So if we were to break it down visually, you would have something like this. Half of your exam, while people, process, and business oriented, we could also slice and dice it by agile and hybrid and also predictive. And this is how the exam is broken out. The questions could be drag and drop. They could be hotspot questions. They could be questions about something technical while not asking you to solve any formulas, but could present some technical information. You could get some short questions. You could get longer questions such as that. You can get questions that really test your stamina. It really depends on which exam is served to you because there's so many possibilities. You know, one of the things about the PMP exam is you don't have people saying my exam was exactly the same as Joe Blogg's. No, the exams are going to be different. You're going to find some parts of the exam are things you didn't even imagine you could be tested on, and other parts of the exam are things you might have been expecting. But as far as our students, they are always well prepared to face the exam, the ambiguity of it, whatever is presented, the stress of it. Our mock exam prepares them for it. You could also get questions like this. In this example, it says, the next prototype on the screen is a hotspot question. Candidates will be asked to interact with a digital graphic and use their calculations to estimate specific data points. You don't have too many of these, but they do exist on the exam. Okay. Now, a very quick breakdown of project management for you. When we talk about project management, we could break project management down into groups of things that we do. Okay. So every project is initiated. In other words, it's authorized. Every project is planned. You understand that concept for sure, because we plan things in life, either long-term, short-term, right? And then we execute our plan. And as you're executing, you're also monitoring and controlling to make sure things are going according to that plan, and you close stuff. And we call this the 5 process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. As a project manager, you also find yourself involved with knowledge areas. We call them areas of knowledge: integration management, scope, schedule, cost, quality management, resource management, communications, risk, procurement management, and stakeholder management. Now, what exactly are these? Integration is binding everything on the project together. It's the overall coordination of project work. Scope management is identifying all that needs to be done. Schedule management is developing a project schedule and managing it. Cost management is estimating task costs and budgeting a final total. Quality management is identifying quality targets and meeting them. Resource management is about managing human equipment, material, supplies, and facilities. Communications management is about planning and managing communications. Risk is about managing uncertainty and the unknown. Procurement is about managing contracts and procurement. And stakeholder management is all about managing stakeholder engagement. And that is the high level of a lot of the topics that you will find on this exam. I put this together in something I call the process group pentagon of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing, and all the areas of knowledge we just talked about. But it gives you a visual about how everything interacts. So a few seconds ago, I mentioned the word integration. Well, this shows you how everything integrates. There are a lot of moving parts in project management: risk, scope, schedule. Sometimes a change in scope will impact the schedule, and a change in schedule will impact cost. And that will invariably impact quality if we're not careful. And that could impact resources. And resources could again impact the schedule. Resources could again impact the cost. Communications could be impacted by resources. Procurement could impact cost. Procurement could impact risk. Procurement could impact the schedule. Stakeholders have a huge say. They could influence how you manage risk. They could influence whether you're going to procure from a third party or not. They could impact communications. They could impact the schedule. And this is a web of possibilities. And there are so many permutations and connection points between all of these. And the purpose of the process group pentagon is to help you see how project management is non-linear. It's all over the place. So when you open up page 25 in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition and you see this is just a pretty picture version, right? If we really wanted to show how it is, you'll have lines all over the place. Now, in addition to the 10 knowledge areas going down that way and the 5 process groups going that way, we have 49 processes that a project manager and a team could work on. And all these could be traced to either a process group or a knowledge area. And this is just part of what we teach you in the Project Management Masterclass. Projects could be worked on using a simple approach or using a more complex, or I should say, complex in terms of not really knowing the outcome or the output solidly kind of approach. So when we talk about a simple approach, you often hear this being called predictive project management. But as we begin to move into the complex zone, this is where we need to be more agile. Agile works best when there's high variability, when there's a need to experiment and to discover the best solution. On the flip side, Predictive project management works best when the requirements are well understood. So the requirements are close to agreement and the technicalities are close to certainty. Therefore, we can use a relatively simple approach where everything is planned up front. But as you begin to move into the world of complexity, you find that those methods, that approach, it begins to collapse because it cannot accommodate the uncertainties associated with the project, the variability, because at this point, we're getting too far from agreement in our requirements and far from certainty in terms of the technicalities involved in the project. And this is where Agile begins to kick in even more. And sometimes it's just full-blown anarchy. We have very little idea of the requirements, very little idea of the technicalities, but we know we need to do something, but we still have trouble getting there, except we break it down into smaller pieces, use a lot of experiments, and do things in iterations. And that's what makes a case for Agile. And that is why the exam since 2021 has been rather Agile focused. If you go to the Agile Practice Guide, you will also find the continuum of life cycles. And you find that projects could be worked on using a variety of life cycles. We could use an incremental life cycle when we have a low degree of change, but a high frequency of delivery. If we have a low frequency of delivery and a low degree of change, we could use predictive. If we have a high frequency of delivery and a high degree of change, we could use agile. And if we have a high degree of change, but a low frequency of delivery, we could use iterative. And this takes us into the world of hybrid approaches. It doesn't have to be entirely predictive or entirely agile. We could take the best of both worlds and we could blend them. We could have situations where we do agile and then predictive, or agile and predictive, as you can see on the screen here, like a sub sandwich. Or we could have predominantly agile project with some predictive sprinkled in, or a predominantly predictive project with some agile sprinkled in. And that's why on the exam, you can expect to be tested on not only people, process, and business, but agile and hybrid, and also predictive. And this is why you need to understand the entire story and the gamut of possibilities for your exam. Someone says, how do we get there? You get there by constant practice, mental exercise, thinking about connection points, playing games with friends who are working on the exam. When you come into our classes, you have people of like mind, maybe even from similar industries, trying to get this done. These are real pictures from training that we have conducted for companies. On the screen here are some of our students from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, our students from Pepperdine University. We have trained so many people from different walks of life to succeed on this exam. So if this sounds like something that is of interest to you, if you are looking at the content outline and wondering, how am I going to navigate this map? How do I get this done? How do I get to a firm understanding of all of these concepts? Go on down to the site. It's projectmanagementmasterclass.com. Projectmanagementmasterclass.com has been instrumental in the success of so many. You could be and should be next if you're looking for help in this regard. Again, all the materials that you need will be provided. Okay, you will have books from us. Come into class with your PMP guide and you're ready to go, but you'll be getting books like this very thick book. You'll be getting books like this. You will also be getting, and I've got to show you this one because very few people would be able to give you anything like this, 20 hours of audio to help you master the behemoth, as I call it. This, the basics of project management, but it's all here, 20 hours of audio, okay? And you'll have access to a learning system with a bunch of videos for 3 months. 3 months. I'm telling you, if you are looking to get certified, this is the very best of the best you can attend live online via Zoom. Don't miss a beat. Again, we want you to go on down to projectmanagementmasterclass.com, sign up for training, and I will look forward to seeing you in the classroom. All right, you take care. Bye for now.